Welcome back to Everyday Garage, and as you can see, we're back in the garage working on the Porsche. Good old Paxton here. In this episode, we are trying to get ready. As you can see, we're doing some body work here. We're trying to get ready for painting, and I have one more step I want to do before we can bring this car to get painted, and that is to put the new air conditioner in, and by that, I mean we're going to be replacing a couple things to make the Freon work. First off, we have the Freon chamber right there, which we'll be replacing. It's just a couple bolts, and down under here, we have to take off the compressor, which is this big hunk of machinery right up here, so we can replace the ester oil, and we'll also be replacing several different little O-rings to make sure that the new Freon seals correctly and doesn't escape and all sorts of bad things. Here's that new kit I got with the new canister, the ester oil, and tons of little O-rings and the new adapters for the new kind of Freon we're going to be putting in this car. So let me try to explain the best I can on how to do this process. It's gonna be a ton of fun. First things first, coming under the car, we've got to get the compressor out. This is the very first thing I'm going to do. I want to get this out so we can change out the ester oil and also test it just to make sure it's working because I'm not entirely sure it is. First things first, we've got a 17mm bolt here that we're going to take off, and then we have to take off these jam nuts which hold this rod in place so we can pull back that rod and get to some more connections on the top. And there are also two bolts holding the compressor in. Alright, I got both of those bolts off, and that back one there, the top one is at the very top up here, and then that first one came from right there, and then there's one that's all the way back here, and those both hold it in. Now the only thing that's holding it in right now is the belt, which this is now completely loose, as you can see. We have to take off these connections up here, which are two more bolts, as you can see these two right here. So I'm going to head take those off, and then these should just pop out of place, and we'll have to replace O-rings that are in both of those spots at a later point. But then we should be able to push back the compressor, get it off the belt, and pull the entire thing out. I'm gonna go ahead and do that, and then we'll have it out. Alright, I got the compressor out and cleaned it off best I could because this thing was completely caked and just absolutely nasty. Also, don't forget about this ground wire right here. I forgot about it and it just kind of came itself out, but go ahead and pull that out while you've got it still in the car. Alright, now that we've got the compressor out and we've got it clean as we can get it, we need to go ahead and take off this head here, which allows us to get the ester oil out. We need to get out as much as that old ester oil as we possibly can and then go ahead and fill it up with the new stuff. So let me take this off and we'll get that old junk out. Alright, I finally got that top piece off. As you can see, that those are those O-rings we are going to be replacing. They sit right there, and we've got the replacement ones ready to go. But now we need to go ahead and replace the ester oil. And we're going to do 5.5 ounces, which one of these little cups is 1 ounce each. So I'm going to do 5.5 of those little cups, just pouring into these holes here. And then that'll be filled back up. We can stick the new O-rings in and the lid back on and bolt it back down, and we'll be good to go with the compressor. Alright, now that we've got the new oil, the new O-rings, and the bolts bolted back down, we've got to replace this little stem. That is the out for the Freon. So the kit comes with this cool little tool. You can stick this right in here to take out the stem because we won't need it anymore. Just as easy as that. That tool is so cool. Take that stem out, and now we have the new one right here, which also came with a nice little blue cap. And all we have to do is screw this back down. You don't want to get this super tight because these threads are kind of breakable. So just get it, you know, hand tight with a wrench. Nothing super tight, don't go over with this. We're getting it to where it won't move anymore. Alright, so now that we got that on, it's time to put this back in the car. Also, as a quick side note, don't forget to replace the O-rings on these two connections that go into the compressor. The O-rings sit just right along here in this area. This one's still on right here, that little black ring you see. Just go ahead and replace those, and then you can put the compressor back in all its glory. So I went ahead and came down here, and there's these two spots right here which needed replacing O-rings. So make sure you do that if you're following along at home. Alright, now that the compressor is completely reinstalled, I just followed the steps to take it out in reverse order. Now the next step is to replace the canister, which is this thing right along here. Right there are just two nuts that need to be loosened and taken off, which I have already loosened, and then that'll get these areas out of the way. Within both of these nuts, these things that screw it down, there are two more O-rings on both sides sides that need to be replaced. And right here we need to take out the core and also replace this new Freon hookup like so. That will need to be replaced with the new one that the kit came with. And then we will also be replacing the entire canister. So once we get these off, I've just got to take off this bolt right here, which is clamping in the piece, and we should be able to slide it right out. I'm also going to turn on the headlights to get this piece out of the way so we can access it a little bit better. Canister successfully installed. We got the new bushings in and everything, and that is looking absolutely perfect. Also, there is one more thing that has to do with the compressor down here. Being that this is a 924S from 1988 specifically, we're going to have to replace that one piece we put in with one of these, which brings it sideways because there is just no room up in here to fit the Freon canisters. So this is going to give us that extra clearance. So I'm going to install one of these. It's super simple. We just unscrew the other one we had and screw this back on and we're good to go. And then it'll be time to finally fill up the car with Freon, and we should have a working air conditioner. This is very exciting. Okay, after all of that, we've got the new Freon kit put in. Let's see if this car is going to work. Don't forget, you do have to turn on the car to make the suction over here. That was something I kind of struggled with. So make sure you're turning on your car. All right, car is on. Now let's see if the air comes out cold, and yes, it is. It is coming out strong and cold. So you can do this easily, cheaply at your own home without having to bring it somewhere, DIY style. And super quickly, I was able to convert the whole system to the new version of Freon and get everything to work properly. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Later.